pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next order of business are the minutes from January 2nd, 2019, first meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review these?
It's not Tabagata, it's Tu Brigada on the 1, 2, 3, 4th spaced lining on the end.
After Street Fair.
Yeah, Street Fair Tu Brigada.
Oh yeah. How do you spell that?
Well, T-U-B-E. And Regatta, I think, is R-E.
Oh, Brigada. Oh.
Regatta, yeah, it's R-E-G-A-T.
I keep reading the word and hearing you say it. It's nice.
Any other questions or comments?
I move we accept them.
I'll second
January
that.
2nd.
Second. Oh, sorry. You already
Any
did.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, abstain, sorry.
One abstention. Thank you. All right, and our guest this evening, Chief Robert Cormier. Bob, if you'd like to come up and talk to us about your budget? Sure. We have it in front of us.
So Tim just stayed there. We had a workshop a little bit earlier, and we're still kind of making a few more changes.
I believe this is the updated one.
Updated one.
Yes.
Yeah, we're just looking, kind of going over the lines again. Every year, Tim and I get together, we kind of look at what we spent last year, but we also look at a 3-year average too. Kind of make sure that, we put the right amount in the line, but if there's an opportunity to reduce it, we look at that and we do as much as we can. And so, there's a couple of lines where, other than contractual raises and benefits, there's a couple lines that I'll kind of cover and talk about. So grant expenses, we kind of brought that down a little bit. It does reimburse some of the patrols that we do throughout the year, but we kind of looked at it as that might be a place we can reduce a little bit. We do use it every year. We get money from highway safety to do patrols for driving impaired, distracted driving, those type of patrols that help us out with enforcement. That sometimes radio cars are handling calls, they don't get to sit there and specifically look for a drunk driver or some of the violations that cause accidents. So that's what we use that grant money for, but we did reduce it a little bit. And then health insurance down, you can see here about 6,000. And there's a couple of changes in regard to like group 2 retirement and also wages, and I'll just kind of, I did put in the budget from me at the end of the year. Last year we had an 8th officer in patrol for about 43 weeks in patrol and then lost him, and I did put that back in there from May to the end of the year. We run 8 officers in patrol perfectly. When we get down to 7, it's 1 officer and a supervisor on the road, and what we see a lot of times is multiple calls come in, so they can't go to them together. And the supervisor ends up becoming more of a patrol officer than a supervisor. And sometimes during the night, you'll see calls come in 3 at a time. And so that 3rd call that's in town is now getting dispatched out to an outside agency. And we've seen a lot of that when we're down to 7, and we definitely see it when we're down to 6, where we'll have an accident at Clark Road in West Main, and there's just no car available for it, so we got to try and get Franklin to come up. A couple of things that happened last year was the outside agencies weren't available. So then I got a call and they're like, hey, my wife's been in an accident. She's sitting here for 45 minutes, but it was 1 officer had an arrest going to Belknap County Jail, and the other one was tied up with a suicidal subject. And so the wait time was basically clearing that unit from Laconia's County Jail. The other units just weren't free from other towns to come in. So we saw that a few times. We saw it with a guy that his daughter's car got broken into at the high school. Same thing. He called me actually and said, hey, my daughter's car got broken into. I'm waiting for a unit. So I called dispatch and I said, Chief, Northfield's tied up, Franklin's tied up, your units are tied up. You only have 2 on the road, 1 being a supervisor. So we've always seemed to work well with the officers, and when we drop down to 7, we start to see those type of, I call them just not great service examples.
Question? No?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry to interrupt, but I thought I watched on one of the minutes when we added the extra dispatcher that we were okay with 7.
So, yeah.
Eating our words?
Yeah, so when we did the dispatch project, we had that 8th officer in there, and it was right at the tail end of that project that he left and we dropped down. We're kind of hoping that.
And that was a part of getting the second dispatcher.
Yeah, it helps, one, to make sure we get all the calls entered, and our calls for service are up. And it's a combination of reasons why they're up there. They're up in that it is busier, but they're up because our dispatch is entering more. So we did about 18,500 calls in-house and 3,400 calls with Belknap Dispatch last year, which is pretty significant. And when I talk to the supervisors, each week and find out what their week is like, they say, we're handling calls like officers. We're not able to really do our job as a supervisor, but our paperwork and the flow and the customer service for people having the lobby open later, all of those things has been a huge improvement, because before, when we just had day dispatch, the lobby got locked up at 4 o'clock.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
7 days a week, and actually it was closed, the lobby was closed all day.
So what's our new hours now?
Midnight.
Midnight.
Yeah, so it's
7 days a week.
Yeah, 7 days a week, so that's a huge improvement. People, if they have to come into the lobby at 7 o'clock at night now, they can walk in and talk to an officer.
I just feel like it'd be a disservice if I didn't mention that when we did get the desk dispatcher, the deal was we were supposed to go down to 7 officers.
Yeah.
But I
They
get
did.
Yeah, and we did.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing is kind of a higher 40,000 foot view is, I have, one sworn officer that's getting ready to retire. He's kind of already announced it, and he's got applications out. So that's imminent. That could be next week, next month.
So they got to get hired too,
So
essentially.
I have that knocking on our door, and then by the end of the year, I have another supervisor that's gonna hit that 20-year mark, and that's typically when they retire.
So that could be a cost savings as well.
And then the year after that, there's another one. So 3 in a row coming up at me. They've already told me, and so if I don't start to get ready for that now, and that's why, looking at the bigger picture and looking at the next 2 years.
And you also, did you lose an experienced dispatcher?
Yeah.
I did, yeah. Yeah, we've had some cost savings, because if a tenured officer retires and a new officer
Yeah.
comes in,
We're saving some money here.
huge savings. So one of the other things I'm looking at doing too to create a savings is a little bit of a restructuring with one of the retirements in the command staff. The title that we'll replace him will inherently have some savings, about $5,000-6,000.
And when you say some savings, I don't know if that would be, like I see that last year they didn't get any merit pool raise. That's not good. Like I was in the military, I'd understand, like you need to have some incentive to keep officers and officer retention, especially the young guys, because they'll leave you quick. So I feel like what you're asking is, I don't think is enough for a lot of the younger officers to make sure they stay, especially with you already having a few officers leaving.
I mean,
Well, most of the officers are under contract, so.
Collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah.
It's spelled out for the 3 years, the wages.
It's definitely a good point though, and we want to hold them. We want them to stay here for 20 years, and it costs money to train new people, and we don't want to be a revolving door. So we try to pay them enough that's competitive and that they don't want to leave, and that they can, make a decent living here working in Tilton. But we want them to be happy and provide the best service to the residents they can. And we feel right now they're paid fairly well. They work hard, and they really do try to provide the best customer service we they can, but I think they feel sometimes when we're down people, they can't provide the best service they want to, and then sometimes we also look at it as an officer safety issue, because if you have two officers on the road, one being a supervisor, and they're both on calls, and one of them has a dangerous call, that means they're going by themselves without a backup, and so.
Which is no good, yeah.
Which is no good, and we've seen a lot of instances of that too. It starts to become, the level of service we can provide goes down when we lose people, and also officer safety
Way down.
issue. So with the retirements coming, I wanted to be ready for that, and so we did put it in there for after town meeting, for May through the rest of the year. And it also, like, when we're full staff with that 8th officer patrol, when we had it before, my overtime comes down quite a bit. Because we have about 2,000 hours of paid time off a year with just patrol alone that we have to cover, plus comp time, training. They each have to do about 40 hours a year in training. And so if you add up the comp time, the paid time off, training hours, bereavement, all of that stuff, court time, the time that they have to spend in court, that 7th officer actually you run in with sometimes 5 in patrol. And so when we have 8, we're full staff, my overtime from one year to the next actually went down by half. And we also were able to do some of the extra stuff like the foot patrols, bike patrols, that sort of stuff. And
Is it something that if we had an 8th officer, we would get more patrols then?
you do too, and yeah,
We would.
because
Would it be increased from now?
yeah, director patrols, that kind of stuff.
Because we're only getting, like, no offense, in my neighborhood, the police come through once every 2 months
Yeah.
at this point. But they were for a while coming through every month, which was better, but
Some of the calls, if you, let's just say you have 2 officers on the road, one of them gets a shoplift and the guy's got warrants and he's got
Then it's
some
back
drugs on
up,
him, that's gonna tie them up for up to 3 hours because they have to take them to LRGH before they can take them to the county jail. So they have to go to Laconia Hospital, that's an hour to an hour and a half. Now they go to county jail.
so half a
another
shift
hour up
essentially.
there. So now you're down to just one car covering the whole town. And so when you're trying to run 2, 1 officer, 1 supervisor, you
We
find.
also expect you to patrol Main Street during the day. We expect you to take care of parking areas because there are complaints about that.
Yeah, we haven't been no enforcement.
Yeah.
All of these things, you know, and they wanna do them actually, they wanna do all that collateral stuff, but when I ask them to do it, they say, Chief, you know, last night I had 3 arrests, one of them tied me up for 3.5 hours. And then, so, listening to them, I try to make sure that they have what they can do to provide the residents with the best service, but,
I think parking, I've heard complaints about parking too down Main Street quite a bit, and not enforced, and people, don't care.
yeah, it's, I see, we've had the 8 and I saw how we run, and then I've seen us with 6 or 7, and then you're just chasing the radio, you go on call to call sometimes.
And one of the other things on dispatch, it was one of the reasons with dispatch was because they weren't tied up with the paperwork and with the reports, and they could be on the street and doing patrolling. And I think we've seen a lot of increase in drug trafficking and everything else, so, those are all issues that need to be addressed by an officer.
Right. Yeah, I think, it does give them more time on the road, it doesn't force them to rush, the job they do, and obviously some of the calls they go on, if it's a suicidal person, we've had a couple of overdoses this week, one of them was a young girl up on Lancaster. Those kind of calls can tie them up for a couple hours, but they don't want to rush those either.
Correct.
So,
And I know we've seen from public hearings and also from town meeting that the citizens are concerned about safety. That's their and that increases the safety issue, I think.
I think traffic enforcement's been really thorough though, especially in my neighborhood right in front of Tangers and all that. It's been really good, and I'm not seeing like crazy negligent. When I see the crazy negligent cars that are falling apart and stuff, they're usually off the road relatively quick.
It does, thank you, it does drive accident, you can see a direct correlation. I've been I review our accident stats and citations, and honestly, when enforcement goes up, accidents come down.
The high-risk people get off the road.
When you look at the enforcement numbers go down, you see the accidents come up, and it does it every year. And so our accidents did go down this year. And we get, 30,000 cars a day go down on the road, and we get a lot of call rating calls. What happen, people call on cell phones and they say, hey, the car in front of me's weaving and cut me off, someone's on their cell phone. Those type of calls, we have to answer every one of them. We get a lot of them with the volume of traffic that goes up and down Laconia Road. People are calling us all the time saying, hey, there's a car that's driving erratically, it's tailgating me, it's that
I appreciate when you guys sit in the park and ride too and patrol that because of the drug activity that was there, and it's like seemed to push that away, and then people have been sneaking behind Valvoline, that's kind of slowed down. But that was a big issue, and you guys took care of it, I guess. I made a couple complaints, and it was solved right within a couple weeks. So.
We just indicted a pretty large deal out of that lot
Oh,
today in U.S.
Well, I love when you guys sit there because then the merge doesn't get competitive and people road rage. It's really crazy.
Tim, I think.
Yeah, I just wanted to make mention, I heard you mentioning the merit grades pool, and I wanted to explain why those show zeros. So last year, there was a budget of $48.98 for the PD merit. Now, the PD merit is for the chief, the captain, the sergeant 2, the administrative assistant, and I believe that's it. So what happens is when the merit is budgeted, it's in the budget, you'd see it in the town report in there. But after they're dispersed, there's a budget transfer that the selectmen make allocating that budget from that line into, say, the chief's salary line, into all the appropriate salary lines. So then they don't look like they're overspent during the year. We're able to keep track and make sure that they're on track. So what happens when that budget is transferred to those appropriate salary, retirement, life insurance, disability, all those lines, then what happens is it zeroes that out. So if you were to see a balance here, it would mean that the 2.5% that was allocated for the PD was not fully used, meaning that maybe only 1.5% was allocated or something like that. But seeing that there's zero, that means it was fully allocated. So I just want to explain that.
Okay, so that looked different to me, so I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
and you'll see that also in the other 2 locations. So when you look at the Public Works Department, you'll see the same kind of thing.
So how much did they get last year then?
$4,898.
Okay.
Was,
Is that on here anywhere?
No, so
Okay.
So it will be a note to show what it was, and but it's allocated to the chief's salary. Some of it's allocated into officers' wages for the captain and sergeant 2, and the support staff salaries for the administrative assistant.
So how many total officers do you have?
Right now we have 7 in patrol and then 2 supervisors.
So
And then I
there's
have
you,
one.
and then 9.
And then I have 1 in the school, so the total would be 15.
15?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so 15, yeah.
We're talking on any given point, there's going to be 8 given off.
Yeah,
And
yes.
Yeah, right.
That's
This
Nice.
budget reflects adding another officer,
Yeah, that's.
Okay.
it's,
okay?
So you'd be looking at 16?
And you said you already have one in a school
We have one in the
to
school.
replace essentially the one retiring.
And what's your support staff?
And we get a reimbursement for the school spot. And then, so in support staff, we have the attorney prosecutor who's non-sworn, and then we have the captain and administrative sergeant. So the way that the office works is operations is covered by the administrative sergeant. That's all the day-to-day scheduling details that come in, director patrol requests, people putting in vacation requests, all that stuff. And then
Sure. So now we're having issues with the sergeant going out on the road, basically having to take calls,
It's,
etc.
well, some of those administrative duties actually just don't get done sometimes when you start putting them on calls. You change their role even though they have stripes and you pay them as a supervisor, they end up becoming a patrol officer. And when you're running just 2, that's essentially what happens. And it's really it's not an efficient way to.
But
do
it takes them the whole shit, but I don't mean to micromanage or get into the breakdown of the deal, but, so this, if the sergeant is also, that means like half of his shift's allocated to like supervisor work and then the rest is patrol? Is
Yeah,
that what you're daily
right,
shooting
so-
for?
No,
Instead
but-
of now, like basically on call and there's a sergeant showing up?
Yeah, no, they supervise calls, so like if you get a call of, you know, a shoplifter that's running out of Walmart, there's a chance it could be a foot pursuit or a use of force.
And that's why the backup, that's why the officer would be like a swing
Yeah,
officer, okay.
You know, I was a sergeant for 7 years in Plymouth, and I always looked at my role as to be that person showing up who's not emotionally or directly involved in the call, but outside looking in to make sure everyone's calm, that it's being done right. You know, to sometimes go talk to the other people involved, make sure if there was a use of force, did we get witnesses? If it was a bad accident, did we make sure we have the fatal team come in? Maybe it's not fatal yet, but it might be if the officers show up and because they don't have enough help, they break down the scene and we don't properly investigate the scene and get the right people out there, then we lose that person at the hospital, we can't put the scene back. So the supervisor has a lot of responsibilities when they show up to something like a pedestrian accident.
So they would be still going out on calls essentially? It's not, you just made it sound like it was more of an they're
Oh,
gonna move
yeah,
back to
no,
administrative
yeah.
position, I was like, just,
No,
we're just getting a lot of bang for our buck.
Yeah, they have to approve all the reports to go to court, and the way it is now with felonies, they have to be ready by the next morning under felony first rule. So all our felony reports have to be read and approved by the next morning for court.
Jeez.
So it puts extra responsibility and stress on the supervisors to make sure that gets done. So with that 8th officer, you have 2 officers free to handle calls. The supervisor obviously is going to show up as a supervisor. If one of them goes up to county jail in the hospital with a prisoner and now they're gone for the rest of the night, at least that one officer out there now has a supervisor to back them up and help them out. But what we're seeing, and we saw a lot this year, is you don't have that backup, you don't have that second officer. And if things are emotionally explosive on scene, there's no person showing up that is a supervisor, that outside looking in to calm things down.
Sketchy.
And then make sure the resources get there, like, you know, a pedestrian accident, one officer's there by themselves and they don't have anyone to make sure we get all the right help there. But the other thing, we did reduce dues by $1,100, and that covers, you know, all the professional associations like our polygraph examiner, the Bar Association for the attorney that prosecutes the cases, those type of training associations that we belong to, that we get a lot of free training, but we did reduce that by about $1,100. We did add some money to building maintenance and it
Well, that was my question. Why, you were up 100 and what, you were up from last year, 152% of what it was last year, and then you're asking for more this year. What do you plan to do and what did you do?
So, last year we added the generator, so now we used to lose power and not have anything unless we got the one from the highway garage, so we added that last
So
year.
you have your own generator?
We have our own generator that starts up, and we actually got reimbursed through emergency management. But what we had last winter, was we had a nice gym that pushed some shingles up, and we actually had a little bit of a leak in the administrative secretary's area. This year, we haven't seen it, but my captain was worried that might rear its ugly head again this winter. So we said, Chief, I think just in case we have to replace a chunk of shingles up there, you should be prepared for it in the budget. We're hoping we don't need it, but I didn't want to get caught if it happens again. It's the original roof, and so
The roof essentially needs to be done soon.
probably within a couple of years, yeah. I mean, it's
It's
just
just
something to,
get it banged out ahead.
yeah. But
But we plan on move buildings still.
yeah, that's still on
It's
the-
like, how much do we put in before?
put
we
into
move?
it. But I mean, typically, we get our AC, HVAC system serviced every year. We have the boiler checked every year, all of those things, just like your own house. Sometimes the locks get a lot of wear and tear, people go in and out of the back doors, we have to change those. So those are the kind of like, I guess, things that we replace filters in the heating and air conditioning system that we might need throughout the year. Our fire extinguishers have to get charged each year, and we gotta make sure all the exit lights are working. So that's kind of where we expend those lines. But as long as we don't have any issues there, we probably won't need that. There's a couple lines that went up a little bit, and that's investigative and training. And it's to offset a new revenue that we have, our polygraph examiner. The polygraph examiners around the state in the last couple of years have been asked to do more pre-polys for employment. So much to the point where they all got together and said, you know, we never used to get these, now we're getting a lot of them. And so they agreed collectively to start to charge for them. So now we actually, if another PD comes and says, hey, we pre-poly 3 people for us, we charge $175 a poly for those. So there's a new revenue now, and that offsets investigative and training, but talking with him, we need to put that in the lines, and then it's offset by our revenue.
I thought we were all set on radio communications, and I thought we were all set on equipment for the PD. Why are those 2 lines reflecting what they are?
I'll cover one and I'll let him cover the others.
That's what I was afraid of.
And so, well, I can cover both, Tim. The radio one is batteries. So our batteries, our portables are about 4 years old, and the batteries on them, they're about $125 to $150 a piece. Yeah, and so they last about 3 years, and then the life starts to go in them. And you'll find when they're new, you're getting 12 hours out of them. When they start chirping at about the 7-hour mark, you know they're not lasting anymore. So I ask, each year I meet with the staff, and I say, what do you think we're going to run into for issues in 2019 as far as equipment goes? And like Cap said, Chief, we're probably going to have to start to replace some of the batteries on the portables, and they're our lifeline. If they don't work on a call, we could.
So it's not anything new, it's just
Nothing.
replacing something?
Yeah. So
It's normal, 3 years battery life's pretty good too, so.
and then the other thing that we put in there in the equipment purchase line is lease payment for a vehicle, and Tim might be able to lease payment for a vehicle. Tim could probably expand on it a little bit better.
Yeah, back in 2015, we started a plan to lease 1 car a year and have it fully paid for out of the special detail fund. So when you see police cruisers out at a work area with the lights going, the officers being paid a certain amount of money, we're paying retirement on that, but we're billing whichever company has requested the detail anywhere up to $70 an hour. So we have a school rate and a commercial rate. And then the proceeds of that, and depending upon, it's a very convoluted kind of formula, but because of New Hampshire retirement, at one point in time, people hired after a certain date, retirement didn't apply to details. People before that date, it did. So when we have a new officer working a detail, we're often putting in over $22 an hour right into that special detail fund, net money that goes and builds up. Over the course of a year, we've had anywhere from, just to give you an example, this fund was started back in 2008, and let's see, it's been as high as $159,000 in billing. And but we saw a pretty steep drop-off this last year at one point, which was unusual. It still turned out to be an average year of billing, but we had 3 cars currently being paid for out of that. There's the remainder of the 17A, or 27, the first 2017 car we have, so you'll see an emblem on it that says 17A. And then there was a second car that is 17B that's being paid for out of there, and then we added one this last year, at the end of the year, 18A. 17A will be paid for shortly, I think by the end of the second quarter. And then looking at an estimate of the revenues and payments into the fund, to be conservative right now, we allocated some money into the equipment purchase line for that. And the last time, I'd have to go back and look at the budget year, but it may have been 15 where we had a certain amount of money in the equipment purchase line to add that plus the amount of money from the special detail fund to purchase a cruiser. So was it 15? So in any event, so that kind of it's just a tough thing to forecast. I've got the revenue here, I can tell you. So in year 2017, for instance, we billed 2,146 hours and for a gross revenue of 140,000. In 2016, we billed 2,302 hours for 149,000. In 2018, I don't have the final numbers worked out yet, but we're going to be under 100,000 in 2018. So we saw a drop-off, and that drop-off happened pretty much in the second half of the year. But there was a project that was to be started last year that didn't get started over by Smoke and Barley, and that's going to be a considerable amount of hours. So we estimate conservatively, and then and this is something we're looking at right now as we get more into the beginning of the year and scheduling. And like I said, we may be taking that money out of the equipment purchase line. So,
Except for another car, essentially.
Yeah.
Would it get rid of the Crown Vics, because I think they're an embarrassment for the town?
no, in fact, they make money for us.
I know, they do sitting there, but
They
geez,
make
has
money
our
for
name
us.
on it. At least take our name off
If
of
we can
that.
tow them to the site and just have the lights on it, they don't even need an engine on them.
Yeah. Inflatables.
Yeah.
And the only other question I had is on part-time
Wages.
wages.
Yeah. So the part-time wages covers both the part-timers that come in for like all the special events, like, we have part-timers come in for Old Home Day and some of the events that we do downtown. They also do come in and help when we have a couple people on vacation, things like that. And then also the part-time wages covers dispatch vacations. So we have 3 part-time dispatchers that can come in, and instead of paying overtime to another dispatcher, the part-time dispatchers come in and cover those shifts. But when we did switch to 16-hour dispatch, we don't have the ability to randomly switch back to Belknap anymore. So we told them we will cover our dispatch center and keep our lobby open to midnight. So if one of the dispatchers takes paid time off, vacation, Sergeant Buffington is in charge of dispatch. He makes sure that the first call goes to the part-timers so that we can get those seats covered. And plus the dispatchers have to go to training, so if the dispatchers go on a training, we'll cover that with some part-time wages too. So, and if the 8 spot was approved, there's 2 lines that I think I can bring down to offset that would be part-time wages and obviously overtime. And so we're talking about that earlier too.
So you're cushioning it with that?
No, but I think what I can do is some of the part-time wages, I'll need if I don't have that 8th person, because there's going to be times where that one officer in the road is in court. And so if we see those crunch times, right now we're going to be scrambling to get a part-timer in. But if I can, it came up in the earlier meeting, if I can find a savings by being full staff, usually it's in part-time wages. And so we did that before when we had the 8th officer. We don't get up against a wall sometimes when one officer has to go down to Franklin and spend 4 hours in court and they're the day officer. We can bring another part-timer in. When you have that second car on the road, you don't have to do that every time. And so, but
How long you been without the other officer, the 7 officers? How long you been doing that?
Since last year,
Okay. So we're doing it for a while.
yeah.
And we haven't been offsetting with part-time every now and then?
We do, yeah, we do.
During like big events, like Christmas, before Christmas, something like that.
Yeah.
Christine,
So what are the dispatchers and administration, where are they in here?
Support staff.
Supports.
Support staff, okay, that's what I was getting at before, I was wondering.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why it's gone up, so.
Well,
Well, we didn't get to the last, to the end, so
Yeah, yeah.
my only question is, label expense, is it typical we just always put 2,500, we don't use 200 of it?
Yeah, it's, again, it's
So we
one
can
of those
kind
things that's difficult.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna look before I answer the question.
one
It-
food.
Or, if there was, we don't really have a problem with it, but some agencies do with, if there was a grievance or something like that where the union attorneys got involved in a grievance, then I have to bring in someone to offset and negotiate with their attorney. We don't usually have those kind of things, but I have to have a little money there for it. The only other thing that drives that number up and down a little bit is the negotiation year. We do bring in an attorney to.
When is that next?
We'll
It's
be
not,
starting at the end of 19.
Okay, we got a little time.
I think if you look at the 3-year average, which is
Okay, yeah.
7,125, that tells the story,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
okay?
yeah, so.
It's a lot of argument right there.
Well, all it takes is one
Yeah.
suit.
But I
That's
mean,
true.
the overall picture other than that is they're doing a great job. Morale's really good. I have a great team.
I think we have a great, based on the police department,
Yeah.
compared to if you look at other towns or whatever.
Agreed.
Thank you.
We're out in the public, you're out, doing the charities and, just.
We have a good public face too. I
Yeah.
think it's always really good.
They love working here. They love the residents. They enjoy their job. They get along great. They work well together. And, from my perspective, I consider myself lucky and blessed. And it's a great town to work in.
Anything else?
No.
Where are the ticket revenues?
They-
We don't have any records
If
on
only.
here.
Yeah, if only the state.
Well, we did more parking.
The state.
That's why.
You'll be getting those.
Oh, we'll be getting these.
Bill, do you have any questions?
No, that was
Dick? Any other questions?
Nope.
I haven't really had a chance to look at it.
So I guess we're not getting rid of the Crown Vics then, huh? We really should. Makes our town look bad.
We're trying.
They're used on all the details or, things like that.
They're all
where
used.
People pay to have a car there.
No, let's just leave it, let's get the worst one and put it there while they're paying for it.
Yeah, if we have to tow it there, just put batteries.
Those are the ones that get the most, eyes on them all the
I
time.
know, right?
So it's like that's advertising their town. It's like, oh yeah, there's no more, they got Crown Vics.
I know.
Well,
They're
that's
like a-
good though, because the criminals will see the Crown Vic.
Yeah, and they'll just be
That's all they
gone.
have.
Crown Vic will die.
I know, you're right, though, they do get the most business.
Yeah, yeah,
Advertising.
all right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
So when will we get in the revenues to them?
When they're complete.
Look at the grid.
So, no, I've been working on them, but we've had a couple of items that we're trying to nail down for 19. So we may just have to add them on later. But there's no great surprises there. So it'll be very similar to what you've seen in the past.
Okay. Do you have any questions? So let's take this home and look at it.
So how many total employees are in the police department?
15, he said.
He said 15.
Wants 16.
And
No, there's more.
Wait till you close it first.
No, there's more than that.
Administrative.
No, I can give you the count.
Administrative.
It's a $2 million budget.
Yeah,
The total head count,
More than that.
so the police department, there's 20 full-time employees.
Okay, I know.
what's that?
There's 20 full-time employees and 5 part-time employees at the police department,
Okay, great.
15 of which are sworn Group 2 officers.
Oh,
And that includes supervision and patrol, the 15.
Does that include the prosecutor?
No, it does not. Well, full-time employee, yes, he is not a sworn officer.
Okay.
He's not a group two, I should say. He wouldn't respond to, calls.
He's a former officer, though.
Right. But a group two would mean
I understand.
certified,
I know.
carry a gun.
I know.
Just a comment though, if thinking about officer safety with the whole thing, I don't know about that. The eighth guy though, that can mean life or death for someone. If we accidentally shoot someone, picture the liability on our town, we could be screwed.
I
So,
personally would rather.
that's why
have
two
one
officers on every
officer
scene.
than Franklin.
Yeah.
No good guarantee 2 officers on every scene.
But
Like-
it makes the
like-
likelihood up more.
The chief didn't mention it, but since you mentioned that, it comes to mind. The board had approved at the end of 2018 purchasing what's considered a less lethal system, which are these essentially rubber
Sorry.
bullets
Yeah,
for
sorry.
the frontline cars, and they can be fired at a pretty good distance. They immobilize the person right away, and they can be used.
How do they immobilize them?
It doesn't.
With a
I've been
rubber-
shot with them. They don't. They just hurt like hell.
Well, they're different types, but it's where a taser wouldn't be appropriate and where they, in such close quarters, they would otherwise be forced to use.
Basically, where collateral damage is okay.
Gun.
How about like a blowgun? Just kidding.
But I'm sure the chief, if he were here, he'd tell you, because it's really,
You know those
really
foam
fascinating
golf
thing.
balls that you can practice
Yeah,
with?
yeah, yeah.
It's like one of those with the shotgun shell.
They're just rubber.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
solid
yeah.
rubber.
Actually, they're foam.
Are they like
They're
a
foam,
dumb
just
thing?
exactly like.
Black. It was just black and they're small.
They're exactly the same as a,
Is it foam?
yeah,
Sure.
it's the same as a golf ball, a practice golf ball.
Oh,
It's
goodness.
very dense, very dense foam.
Oh, that one, that
Those,
goes.
yeah, yeah.
Military uses chalk, but whatever.
Yeah, one of the things to keep in mind that adding the additional officers, this isn't the actual cost, this is half a year per,
Right, is it after May?
because May, yeah. May, so it's a little bit over half a year, so then next year, this actual cost will be like 40% higher.
Yeah. The full
So
year
you
cost
guys
is a
remember
little
that
over
it's not full
70,000.
cost.
So right now,
And along with all the other lines, retirement, you know.
We went to that dispatch. It's just, I don't know if there's a cost savings yet.
so right now the total increase is 4.1%,
Yeah.
and that's a real increase, or you're saying that there's gonna be more than that?
That-
Well, that's an
that's
increase
it.
for this year, but the next
2018,
year.
but it will cause, if you remember with the same budget, the next year, it would go up more
Yeah.
automatically because this officer's wages would be for a full year,
Mhm.
not just.
Does anyone know how much money we saved by not using the dispatch?
There,
Did we save net off the, no, or not
no,
yet?
there is, are you speaking about from Belknap County?
Yeah, from going from what we used to have for hours compared to what we have now for
No,
hours.
there's no tangible savings. There are intangible benefits from officers not having to do as much paperwork so that they can be out on the road more. But we pay Belknap County a set fee based on the levy, our population, so on and so forth. And included in that is the cost of dispatch, along with all the other county services that they provide to the different towns. It's not broken out, it's not something that we can say we're not gonna pay our portion of dispatch.
It's in our county fees.
It's in the total fee.
The thing is, the county has been throwing the idea out there repeatedly that they want to go and start charging the towns for dispatch separately.
That's right.
So that's why we're preemptively kind of,
We preempted, so we're set up, and the idea is that we're set up that we could also, because we have an antenna that's up on the mountain, we have very good reception at Belknap Mountain. Nobody else can get on that antenna tower anymore, it's full. And we could do dispatch for like Northfield, San Mateo, Belmont, or any of the other towns, Guilford, anything. And charge them.
essentially. But we haven't got to do that yet. It's a good idea,
Not
but we
yet.
haven't got to do it
Not
yet.
yet, it looked like we were going to.
If it does, if it doesn't. If it doesn't, we just wasted a whole lot of
Well,
money.
the timing wasn't exactly right, or we just picked up Northfield, right? Initially,
it
we
would
picked up
require
Northfield, but the timing wasn't quite right.
I never spend the money I don't have in my pot, I don't know. But cool. All right.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Thank you.
Sorry.
What we do?
Sorry, I'm sorry. My bad.
What we do?
Yep.
We're very important business.
What did you say? What was your name?
I'm having this chocolate.
Oh, Andrew, piece of chocolate, okay.
That's my supper. We have to come up with the schedule, the selectmen need it right away. We need to schedule our public hearings
Yes, we do.
and do that, so can we do that now?
Well, I told Jeannie I would get back to her by the end of the week,
Okay.
okay? That's what I told
We
you.
can do it through
How far
email?
in advance of town meeting do we have to do?
Well, we have a deadline that we have to have our,
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I have the time.
You
yeah,
have-
so we go,
I have it.
basic synopsis of what we do is we take the date that we have to have our warrant done, all that, and then we go back a certain number of weeks. 2 weeks before that, we have our hearing. That includes the warrant articles. And then, now I'm going backwards, then we go all the way 2 weeks before that, and we have our first public hearing that includes our budget. So therefore, we can change it for the second. And the reason why we space them a little time apart is because the snow factor. So, and we cannot not have it.
Right.
And we also have to go and publicly notice it. I believe it's like 10 days prior
Prior.
to the meeting, so we can't change it without giving the public notice. So you're all set?
I'm all set with it. I talked to Jeannie earlier this week.
Can we-
It'll be in the email, right? That's all I care about.
Yeah, so that's what we're looking back, and the selectmen wanted to know, while they're working on their budget, they're looking at not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after to deliver their budget to the budget committee. So,
For 2 weeks.
not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after.
And next Wednesday, have you scheduled Kevin?
Are we meeting next Wednesday?
I don't have a confirmation yet.
So you haven't gotten, he hasn't confirmed it though? Okay, but you did contact him, okay. All right.
Cool.
So the next thing we need to do is we need to talk about the outside agencies and get some votes on those. Thank you, Tim, very much.
Where is this voting sheet?
Well,
Well, we did, this thing here.
I don't have that thing there. What is that?
Came with my thing, it's just all the ones that were asking.
Oh, okay, never mind. Okay, okay. Yes, I do have that.
Yeah, you should have that.
But I'm not sure that's what they're going with, is ordinance.
Using this,
I'm using, well, you can use that sheet. I'm using the one that says the town of Tilton 2019 draft budget with all the ones listed on it.
Do I have that?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
Her first one was the same as mine.
yeah, Lake Region Mental Health and Genesis, is the first one I got. You should have this.
Yeah, looks
Where'd you get that?
In the packet
I
that,
don't have this either. I'm just kidding. I haven't even looked.
Oh, that's,
Committee.
it's probably on the last page of the full budget from estimated in the beginning, but things change.
I don't have it.
oh, outside agencies,
Yeah.
yeah, okay?
on the back of this selectmen's budget,
Where is that?
one of these, we got a couple of these, one was a blank.
Yeah, they changed.
Yeah. Want me to make copies of this?
Yes, please.
Pretty much.
Just be easier, I think.
They'll all be on.
Have less looking for your microphones. Hopefully. So we're voting on everything tonight?
No. And
On the outside agencies,
On the outside age, we're voting on all of them?
yeah.
Okay.
well, have all came?
Are you sure we're gonna do that tonight? Hope it okay. Well, I
Why
guess
not?
we'll just go for it. all these. What this? I know, sorry. Good. Just flipping extra loud.
Thank you.
Making the audio nice.
The ones that are crossed out are crossed out. Well, one of them shouldn't be because we have to discuss it, but the other thing,
Yeah, Partnership for Public Health was the link
yeah,
service.
Partnership for Public Health and Summer Consult.
Did they not show up?
Yeah, they did.
Is that
They did.
Waypoint?
It was service link.
Oh, service.
So the first one we need to vote
I'm
on
gonna
is,
make a motion that we approve the Park Cemetery for.
we don't have to do those because that's a contract. That's automatically done. Park Cemetery
Well-
and Lakes Region Planning and the
Animal control.
animal control.
Oh,
Those are done, those are automatics.
well, we could not approve them, right?
Essentially,
And
yeah.
that
We
would
could-
say no.
No, because they're contract items.
But we can still say no to them.
The
Yeah.
selectmen.
Well, we
We-
approved their budget.
We could say no.
Well,
And
we have them for the last 2 years that I know of. They should have been, they should have been taken off of this, and I was told that whoever did it just didn't know they were supposed to come off.
Well,
Well,
that's a little.
here's the thing, if we don't approve it on here, then we're gonna
Yeah.
have to later approve it on
Approve
the
it on there,
selectmen's budget.
okay,
So
all right. Well, we
that's-
can then.
It can't
All right,
hurt that
all
we
right,
at least
so
get
we'll
that
just,
out of the
we'll
way.
just
So
deal with all of them then.
So
okay?
is contract meaning like a,
I'm gonna go and make a motion that
Okay.
we approve the request by the Park Cemetery for $6,000.
I'll second it. Any discussion?
Nope. Good.
Aye.
Aye.
Do you wanna do a
Aye.
bunch of them first? The ones
Yeah, just
that-
want to name them
Yeah,
off.
we
Which ones?
can.
Just do the ones that we don't really,
Yeah.
we're not gonna discuss.
I'll make a motion that we approve Lakes Region Planning and Animal Control, Lakes Region Planning for $3,540 and Animal Control for $5,500.
Second?
Any discussion?
Negative.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Unanimous.
Yep. Those were all unanimous. The next one is Lakes Region Mental Health Center, which is formerly known as Genesis. They requested $3,000. I make a motion to approve Lakes Region Mental Health for $3,000.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Yes, I don't think we should approve as much. I think they're asking for too much money compared from last time.
They're
Just my
asking for the
opinion.
same amount.
Well, they had 2,000 a couple of years before, and then they had 3,000 this year.
I
No.
had 18 was 3,000, now they're still asking for.
Oh, okay.
And they're still asking for 3,000. So they're asking for the same thing they asked for last year.
It was just to help people pay for payments, essentially, and provide
Right.
service. It's to provide service for, if I remember properly, it was to provide service for people that couldn't afford the payments, but they already had funding for that, if you remember.
No, not necessarily. Anybody can use it. It's, if people have mental health issues, I think if someone is threatening suicide,
They had 182 residents of Tilton served.
yeah.
Yeah, it seemed that it was to me, and they do ask all these people, and we're right in the range with all these other guys.
Yeah.
And it seemed to me that I remember that they seem to be doing, with the way that the world is these days, we really need mental health services.
Yeah, and Heather said that they, see, in,
Oh, you missed that one.
like,
I can't-
3 or 4 years ago, we had some real issues with them, and we did not contribute to them until, I think,
17.
I think 16 was the first year we contributed to them. And they've gotten increasingly better,
Okay.
They had 182 residents,
yeah.
so.
But the-
All in favor of
Sorry, never mind.
3,000? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, unanimous.
Okay, we're gonna get this one. Assistance.
The next one is Youth Assistance Program. They're asking for $48,258, which is around $500 less than they asked for last year.
Cool.
My only question was their health insurance is so much.
Yeah, they.
One person, it was like,
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
it's like,
It's a family plan, I think was why.
so
But
like
still.
38,000 or something for, I've never heard of a family plan that much. I don't know anything about health insurance. but
It's
I know that I could never
astronomical.
afford anything like that.
Well, I think
That's
that's
more
about
of
the
it.
going rate.
No, not for.
I don't think so.
That's
It is.
a big family coverage.
I think one of the things we looked at is also that her wages were pretty low.
Yeah, very well.
And
they were-
she was considering a benefit, and the amount is based on because they can only purchase an individual.
She make like 65K a year.
Individual policy.
What's that?
I think it's because they can only get an individual policy, you know, not a group.
She had a family plan?
Well, no,
I-
a group rate when you get a whole bunch of
They only have one
subscribers.
employee.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
okay,
I
yeah.
disagree with that though. That lady was making 65K, her salary said, and then she had health benefits, I thought. Was I wrong?
I don't think that's true.
Yeah, no, it's not that.
Was it, or I know her health insurance was ridiculous. Where was it?
Director's salary.
I think the program's really good.
She makes $36,000 a year.
Yeah, I think the
But
program.
you have to include what her health care costs as
Her
her
health
total
insurance,
income.
23.
So even that, it's like, that's why I added up, it was like 60,000 between health care and that, it's
For director.
a lot.
36 and 23.
How much? 36,000?
36,000 she makes and 23,000 is her health insurance.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's like 50.
23? Okay.
59, sorry.
But,
But
I
she's
think it's,
proposing,
I think it's a great program,
Yeah,
so that was my only question. I just didn't understand that.
her salary is increasing according to her budget for 19 from the 36 to 49.
that's where the issue is. So her budget's increasing for
Oh,
herself.
wait, remember this is what, remember we had to ask her if this was 18 and 19?
Yeah.
So last year it was 48, not 36, to 49.
Yeah.
Because they messed up the dates.
So she's making 49 plus health care,
Right,
30,000.
so 70,
yeah.
80.
All right. That's about what a director makes of the social service.
I mean, what they're requesting is less than 2018 that we gave them.
Yeah.
But, yes.
Any other discussion?
No.
So they did reduce.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Next one is Waypoint, that's the old Child and Family Services.
That gentleman was so unprepared.
That's one that there's still
It's
questions
horrible.
out on.
And he's going to get, you heard anything from him?
I'm gonna make a motion that we do not fund Waypoint.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, what were they doing again?
Which?
Where are they? They were, what were they
Waypoint?
before?
Child and Family
Oh,
Services.
Child and Family
And I
Services,
believe if you
okay.
recall from our meeting with the welfare, they probably help more than any other organization, the town of Tilton, or they have in the past year.
And they don't have walk-ins available.
Right.
They only have Concord and Dover and.
But because most of their work is done in the field.
Right. I have them all over,
Yeah.
Well, they serve
26
26
people were
people
Tilton.
here.
Pardon?
26 people they
Yeah.
served. And most of those were Camp Spalding.
Which they own.
They own.
They do own
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, I'll make a motion to fund Waypoint for 3,000. Did you make the motion?
Yeah, at zero.
Okay, second.
Not funded.
At zero.
Not funded.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor of not funding them?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Okay, so they're not funded.
Now we're on CAP, right?
Pardon?
We're on CAP, or Community Action Program.
I'm gonna make a motion that we fund the community action program at $20,000.
I still haven't got my questions answered on this, why we're paying twice as much as any other town.
Heather called me today,
And I was supposed to get some answers to that.
Heather called me today, and she's still waiting. They have 2 new people there,
Yeah.
so she's still waiting for the answer from them. As soon as she gets it, she'll give it to us.
I'd rather not
So let's
vote
not
on,
vote,
I'd rather
yeah.
not vote on them until I can get some
Okay.
answers.
I agree, because we're
Because
right
they're,
now,
they're a great program, but I wanna know why
we're half of it.
we're paying twice as much as any other town.
I just think we should deny it. Just-
No, I love their program.
I love their program,
If-
but
if
I
there's
just don't
some
think it's
reason,
fair.
I wanna know what it is.
But the other town, the closest town's paying $3,000 or something, the biggest donate, like,
Well, I mean,
I
Frank,
guess a point of order,
That's $1
because
million.
we don't have a second.
Wait a minute, we don't have a second,
So we don't discuss.
second,
okay?
Oh, now we can discuss.
Now,
my bad.
yeah.
You didn't have, yeah. So you-
Heather is waiting for answers from them.
Okay, well, I just think we should not vote on it till,
That's fine
I
with me.
agree.
because I don't wanna vote on it.
Okay.
I think
fine
we
with
should
me.
vote on it. It's what we have for prepared,
We've
like,
been
we're voting on
We've
everything.
been paying them for 20 years, more than any other town, and I,
No, not more than Northfield.
I think,
yeah, but
If they're not prepared, we're
pay
ready, we
close
should
to
go.
Northfield For the services that they, if you look at that sheet,
Yeah.
the amount of services that they give them, we pay 12% and no other town pays 6%.
Okay. I see what
Frank
Towards the
was-
service,
Frank
but
was
I don't understand if some
6,000.
of those services are more valuable than others or something, I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think we should, I'm sorry.
one of the things is that we're paying way over what everybody else is paying. The other thing is that they don't have a building to support anymore down there. And on top of that, they've canceled even the demolition of that building that they had.
And they don't have the food
services.
pantry, like,
They also cut out, they still have the food pantry, but it's tied in with the town hall. They don't have the farmer's market food? Or no, they
No,
cut
they
out the
do.
no, they cut out the food pantry, but they have the WIC food.
Not with the,
Meals on Wheels,
no,
commodity.
Commodities,
Commodities.
yeah. So,
Yeah, she was supposed to give us what they, the
and
town.
the reason why I reduced it is, they have really cut back on the services and we're paying, as Bill was saying, much more. But I'm okay with withdrawing my motion if people want to give it another state.
I would
I think
Heather was supposed to give me some information.
Maybe
I don't think-
to go and decrease my vote.
Isn't that, but guys, isn't that not fair to everybody else? Like, we're voting on everyone else and deciding yea or nay, and then this guy, they're not ready, they haven't answered the questions. Even though we've given money to them a lot, isn't it fair to everybody else that we should vote on it tonight?
no, we'll vote before we prepare the budget.
So we could just vote on everything else another
Anything
night?
you
We don't
don't
like
want
to
to vote on,
we
you
can
just
vote
say,
anytime we want.
yeah.
I think in that light, there are many things that are nonprofit charities that sort of help us out, but with like ancillary things. The community action program gives a lot more to this town. It helps out our welfare department a lot more than anybody else, all of these combined. So it's
Right, it's a very important program.
Yeah,
But how much will it be cost savings if we go into welfare? They're still gonna provide the service. I guess, it's just not gonna be as funded, I guess,
Well, we won't
because we're
know.
not funding all of it.
we don't know.
I just don't think it's fair that we're waiting to shelf that, but we're gonna vote on everything else.
We may not vote on everything else. We can vote on
Right,
this at any
there's some
point
things
in
I don't
time.
think I'm ready to vote on.
Okay.
And you can bring up a new vote.
And we can vote on it after the public hearings and everything else.
Yeah.
So I'll withdraw my motion if the second.
He did, I thought you said you would, didn't you, Bill?
I'm the
Did
second,
you withdraw?
I think he's the
Oh.
second,
Will
yeah.
you withdraw your second?
I guess, yeah.
Hey,
If I have to.
Table it for,
I'd rather just table it.
Yeah.
I'll table it for 3 weeks and that's it.
If I can't answer the questions, then we'll vote.
Yeah.
So to move the table?
So motion to table it for the 3 weeks.
And I'll
Second.
second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next is Franklin visiting nurses. I'll make a motion to fund them for $12,572.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Well, we didn't have discussion.
Oh, we had a discussion, okay.
Just give me a second to look at it.
Franklin visiting
They're
nurses.
number 3.
Second say that they
long
have.
The
time,
towns are like 2% of the
Super.
entire budget.
local.
Just real accurate what it actually costs.
Yeah, they,
And they're bare bones.
but I mean, I know so many people that have been aided by them,
Yeah.
just personally, you know, so.
I personally have been aided by them.
Yeah, right,
What is it, Franklin Visiting Nurses?
yeah.
Yeah.
So they're getting an increase.
I don't remember that one presentation.
You may not have missed it, you may have missed it.
I don't
might
think
have
you
missed
were
that
here.
one. That's the one I missed.
Yeah. How come it's not Tilton Visiting Nurses?
Never
So
from
they
them.
service all of, I think they service 2 counties, don't they?
They must.
Merrimack and Belknap
Unless they're over here and in Franklin.
and in Northfield.
Everybody's changed their name, what's that?
I think that she said Concord and.
VNA.
Oh, no, they compete with Concord
Yeah.
and Macomb.
Visiting, VNA.
Franklin. Andover, Belmont Hills,
Basically.
Northfield, Salisbury,
Yeah.
Sandridge, and there's a whole.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Like,
So it's only an increase of 722.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? New beginnings. Make a motion to fund new beginnings at $1,575.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Just trying to find the notes.
New Beginnings is which one again? Let me find the paperwork real quick. It's like the time I find the paperwork, I look at it, I'm like, oh, okay.
Is that,
They help domestic violence.
yeah, that's.
Oh, okay, I remember that now,
They
yep.
house them,
Here.
So they help immediately.
serve, take them to support them while they're in court,
Mm-hmm,
and then
right,
provide safe housing afterwards. They do families, they do men and women,
yeah, I like that.
although they do
Yeah.
more women than men.
Right,
And it's level funding. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
right, yeah.
Okay.
They,
Any other discussion?
No? Motion to approve?
No.
call the question?
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? New Hampshire Association for the Blind, Future and Sight. Make a motion to fund, New Hampshire Association for the Blind, New Hampshire Future and Sight for $2,000.
Second.
Discussion?
I don't understand, I mean, when they talk to us, there's like nobody giving them money, right? Is that the one that, where there was like,
No,
we
I
were the
think,
only one,
Yeah.
two
on
towns that
several
were giving
people
them money?
money, I think.
Yeah, didn't they help people get glasses and stuff too, and
No,
like
they-
cataracts? And...
Reading things.
They provide, as a matter of fact, school budget, I just met with special services, because that was my cost center for the school budget. And I met with the director of special services from Winnisquam Regional, and they use them, and they're gonna be using them more because they now have children coming in who have serious vision problems.
Yeah, they didn't
My,
have children.
my association with them has been with the seniors who have macular degeneration. And they go into their homes and they help them set up, if you're blind, you don't know how to set up your kitchen, for instance, or, you know, they help them set those things up. They get them computers and teach them computers.
Notes somewhere.
They show them, they give them special instruments to help them see better if they have some vision left.
But I mean, I think it's mostly federally funded, isn't it?
Yeah.
They have endowments, and they've been around since, what, the 1800s or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah. So, you know, they do great stuff. My thoughts are that these guys do great and wonderful things. There's only one town that funds them, and it's Meredith for $1,000.
Right,
And they have
that's,
over $9 million in assets and endowments that they get.
I just didn't understand.
So why are they coming to us for a grant? Is that what you're trying to say, essentially?
Yeah,
You can't walk over 1,000 when you're
I
trying to pick up.
believe that Genesis has more than that, and,
They've got,
So it depends on how restricted those endowments are.
I mean, the current actual budget was a gain of 198,000. But then the total budget was a gain of 51,000, so they're not losing.
No.
So,
They have revenues of 2.5 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
motion to,
we had a motion already for,
To accept it, right?
2,000.
Yeah, so-
to deny it?
Yeah.
I'm not sure, I don't know why, it's like one of those things
Two people.
where
Should be level
they
funded.
have a pretty good budget and they have good revenues,
Yeah,
but there's only a couple of towns, for some reason,
Meredith.
are giving them money.
yeah.
And why are we doing that when they have revenues anyways?
Yeah, I guess my feeling is that if they service our citizens, and we have needs of the services that they render, why shouldn't we fund them?
It's already
Why
paid
does
for.
nobody else do that?
It's paid for by philanthropy of foundations, corporations, individuals, service clubs, limited state funds, as well as newly approved Medicaid provider ID bill for occupational therapy for low vision services.
And they're asking for 500 more this year.
No, they aren't.
They never asked for money before, I thought. Oh, no, they got money last year. I don't know why we're the suckers though, we're the only two people. I don't know, there's two towns that pay, and I feel like we're kind of like the suckers, like, oh, Tilton's nice, they'll hook us up.
Okay.
You know, we have plenty of loot, making plenty of money.
It's really
2,000,
difficult. I
okay, I see
completely
it.
support what they do, but
Yeah.
Like, why do you need our money?
I'm just looking at the funding.
Our tax rate.
Right, right. I mean, we're gonna pay the federal government, which comes back and, you know,
Funds this.
funds them, so they're kind of double dipping. I just feel like sometimes, you know.
Well, I guess you could say that about Franklin Visiting Nurses too, because they get Medicare and Medicaid funding.
I just see
And they
a
have
lot
revenue.
more activity with VNA than, you know,
Yeah.
I guess.
Because they service all illnesses.
Right,
The
and,
Future and Sight only does for the people who are visually impaired.
yeah. But they didn't even work with that many people, did they?
No.
VNA
It was
doesn't have
like
big talent.
11.
26, I believe.
Yeah.
11 in
You know,
Tilton.
the
That may be multiple times with one person. That's not,
Actually, I
26
think
individuals.
I mean, I'm aware of what this organization does.
right.
It's visiting nurses that we do multiple times with one person, this person. This association usually does one time or two times to set them up, and then provides them with machines to read and different things like that.
I mean, if we were just gonna be generous, I would say 500. To me, that they're more like the Red Cross
Yeah,
in size and in scope than any of these other organizations.
okay, so,
Do you want to make a motion to amend that?
Okay, I'll move that we amend it to
Motion.
500.
Vote on that.
For,
And
what was it?
Yeah, I move that we
Motion to
amend the 3,000 to 500,
2,000 to 500.
or 2,000.
Yeah,
is what we'll
okay.
see.
I'm going to second that.
Why?
We discussed it.
Can we discuss it again?
And we
That-
vote.
Yeah, we discussed on the amendment.
So,
yeah.
Oh, we just-
all in favor of the amendment, we're giving them.
We're not-
No,
we're
we
not-
have to discuss.
We have to discuss the amendment now.
We have to discuss the amendment before we vote on it.
Which, why are we
There's
doing
a
this?
first and a second on the amendment, now you
Yeah,
discuss
but I
it.
thought we discussed the amendment.
Why don't we give them like
We
a
discuss
dollar?
the amendment now.
Yeah.
Right, and when we pass it, it will take the place of the
And then
first motion.
then we go back and vote on the first
Yeah,
motion.
so you want to discuss?
Yeah,
the
I
amendment?
do. Like, I just don't think this is, like, you guys already brought up such good points not to fund them. We should be looking out for our tax base. Because I'm not a rich guy. I don't know how wealthy you guys are, but our tax rate doesn't help.
Well,
It's
we're
just-
cutting what we paid last year.
But still, we should cut it all away. Look how much money they have, and there's only 2 towns in the whole state paying them. Why are we going to be those suckers? I feel like such a sucker. I feel like I'm walking into a car dealership and getting taken advantage of. I don't know. I just think we should deny it, that's all.
Leo? So there's some
Any
other
other
feelings.
discussion?
I just got so much feelings about it.
All right, so now we're voting on the amendment
Yes.
of 500. All in favor of the amendment of 500, for $500, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
That was just one.
This is one.
By the way.
The nays did not have it.
No, but they expressed.
All right,
I just wish we could've gave them nothing.
So we'll vote on the motion
yeah, we voted on the motion.
to amend it. No, we need to vote on the motion to accept the $500. We only amended the motion.
Okay.
All right,
All in favor of accepting the motion to fund them for $500, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay. Oops, sorry.
I mean,
Yes.
say aye.
aye.
All opposed? Nay.
Nay.
That was one,
Just me.
for the record. It's,
Next one is CASA.
They
for
impressed me.
$1,000.
They impressed me for $1,000. I mean, they have so many volunteers,
Yeah,
Tons of
and,
them.
and everybody's in court these days, so.
Yeah.
It's,
yeah. Well, I think the function they serve,
the kids.
Mhm.
it's
Right.
guardian ad litem, which is actually a legal position,
Mhm.
which is usually done by an attorney. So they're saving the state money by serving as the advocate for the child, as opposed to having an attorney do it who would be charging ungodly amounts of money.
I
That's
think
my
it's
opinion.
It's a
Anyway.
good service, keep kids out of the courtroom.
Yes.
So I make a motion to fund them for $1,000.
Second.
Any discussion?
They're a great program.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Red Cross.
Red
They
Cross
show up?
for $500.
I move we give the Red Cross $500. I move we give them $500.
I second that.
What was the motion?
Discussion?
$500 for.
They're the Red Cross, we shouldn't, they have tons of money.
We didn't find them.
Tons of
find them last
fundraisers.
year.
Just giving all our tax money away. All those 500s add up, man.
I don't think they collected their money last year.
Exactly, so why do
I
we
think
even,
they
We didn't
did
fund
last
them.
year.
Did they? It was the year
2
before
years
they
before
forgot.
they did.
2 years.
see, they're gonna forget the $500 on the table, why are we even funding them?
Well, didn't they start some new programs,
Yeah, they did.
LNA,
Yeah.
and
Right,
something else? We asked for that.
And if somebody, and I've been involved with them when we've had fires in the community. They're the first ones there, and they provide things that others don't. And they coordinate, they get room and board, rooms.
Get a
for
lot of
people,
federal money.
hotels, They get their medications if they need it.
And their CEO makes, what is it, $6 million a year, and they squandered all the money that went to, oh, these are the, I think that they should put the cans on the table. Yeah, the cans on the table at, you know, the checkouts and for donations. It's just a national thing, it's not a,
I just don't know why they're coming to us in a weird way. I don't know if that's, again,
Are other towns funding them?
no, we're
I
suckers.
think I missed that one.
I think we should pass the hat at town meeting.
They have a,
All right,
We
we have a,
question.
I'm calling the question. All in favor of $500 for the Red Cross? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Those two,
Type one.
It passes.
so, yeah, it's just two nays.
The next is Pines Community Center for
It is,
67.
what about Service Link?
It's giving that
Oh,
millionaires
that's
more
right.
money.
Service Link, Partnership for Public Health. I make a motion to fund Service Link for $2,500. Is there a second?
Mm-mm. Can I put a motion to deny their funding?
Well,
No,
We haven't
haven't.
said
Oh, yeah.
Floor.
We haven't had a second yet.
Right, that's the motion there, be seconded.
it's not looking good.
No. Okay, so we're not gonna fund them.
Well, we can,
We gotta put a motion
didn't,
first.
We had a motion to fund them for $2,500.
but we didn't motion to not fund them yet.
Okay, I make a motion to not fund Partnership for Public Health for $2,500, or I make a motion to fund Partners for Public Health for zero.
Well, service
Can we do
lane.
that, service link? Well, it's not part.
I'll second that.
All
Wait,
in
for
favor?
Service Link? Sorry.
Yeah, they were all phone,
Oh, sorry, that was
phone,
just-
phone, phone.
Oh,
They call us, we'll tell you.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many
And her director.
available
Yeah.
phone places. I mean, we have,
Oh,
don't we have
we got a
211 and
motion in a second.
411, all that stuff
Okay.
is the same thing?
Can you figure out what's going on? You keep it
Oh,
up with us?
poor
On my
Marina.
7th page.
I have a list of what we've done and anyway,
Yeah.
so.
No, I think I'm okay.
All in favor of funding them for nothing?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, that feels great, guys.
Unanimous.
Good job, guys.
Okay.
Heinz Community Center for $67,250.
I move we accept that.
That's a second.
67.
Discussion?
Yes, just a second.
Well, I can say that they've come a long way.
Yes, they
and
have.
they're doing it for our town and for Northfield, and, I don't know,
They
a lot
sold
of the
the
kids'
church.
programs would be without them.
They sold
That's like the sports, right?
No,
The-
they don't.
They do everything, they do
That's the rec ports, sports and stuff.
sports, summer programs, after school,
Swimming.
type
Which was good.
Dude, oh, I remember them now. Yeah, really well.
It's over, you know, the Pines.
I was actually really impressed with their
You
presentation
weren't
too.
here for the presentation.
For this
And
one?
they've
For
done-
rec
they've
center?
done
Yeah, I was.
more-
You were?
I remember their
they've done
presentation.
more- They've done more grants this time.
Yeah.
And they're very honest
They
now.
really have come a long way.
They tell the truth.
Yes, they do.
I said their presentation was pretty good.
They were asking us, no. See, the whole history behind what used to happen is
Yeah, I
they
know.
didn't have a great attitude, and then they flood the town meeting, so they didn't have to have a good attitude when they came to us, and
It was a
it
team.
was. But they've so reorganized, and it's so,
Well, they have all the families behind them,
yeah.
that need them.
They service a lot.
They're
more.
gonna show up at
And I think,
meetings.
Well, and
as a
I'm
town
on their
official, I'm
Facebook
behind
page,
them now.
and they have just.
Yeah,
they
if you don't,
have
you get to
activities coming out
lose your
the year,
vote.
And they have fundraisers coming out the year, so 2 years ago, they had none of that. 2 years ago, it was just going to the town, and that was it. But they really have done well, I think.
Yeah, they've used labor from the
Yeah.
jail. They keep using their 2001 van,
Another
asking
thing
for a new
is-
van.
Another thing they did, if you'll remember, when they served as the point of contact for
The Christmas
the
thing
Christmas,
for Heather,
Tilton
yeah.
Northfield Sandwich and Christmas Fund.
Mhm.
They
took all
stored
of the
things there and
reserves.
helped pack them up to
Mhm.
deliver them. I think we
And they
should.
hired a
yeah.
director that went through all of the programs, and I can
Exactly.
tell you Brittany's doing a great job.
Yeah, she really is.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, yes, it
It's
is.
unbelievable
Oh,
the
of course.
difference.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And the last one, no, we got two more. The last one, next to the last one is the summer concerts for $2,000. Make a motion to fund the summer concerts for $2,000.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
That seems kind of cheap to me.
Well, that's
Yes,
because
the-
they.
What's the
pay
turnout
the
for
rest
that?
of it.
I know, but
30?
I've seen it.
$150 people a week,
150 people a week? So it's a
they've
week
had
long?
They've had
every
700
week,
people.
for all summer.
Oh, okay.
Live bands.
I thought it was just one concert. Okay, like, okay.
Oh, no, it's
They had
every
700
week.
people at one concert
Yeah,
once.
700.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
They-
Free, for free, huh?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
have at least 300.
Because you have a lot of people. I'm down to the concert, you always.
Are we keeping that alternative?
So I didn't want this. I'm a Grinch.
So should we
And the
vote
family
to
kicks
remove
in.
that line?
Most of
Remember
the
that was.
expenses.
No.
They pay for all the bands.
No.
I figured we could sponsor it and
They
sell
do
it
a ton
out.
of advertising.
Yeah, I've seen that.
They
So should
just,
we vote to keep
They
it
really
in the dollar?
promote themselves, and it's, a lot of the elderly love it. They'll be over there an hour before the concert.
Oh, yeah.
Getting in good spots with the chairs, huh?
What is alternative?
That's, remember, we may at some point in time want to start our own recreation program in
Like we were
town.
looking with teens
Like-
and,
I
To work
thought
with teens and so on.
it
that
was like 2 years ago.
we have some other funds, we have a recreation fund. I might want to go back and look at that we could transfer money out of that into something for recreation.
This was you and me.
Yeah.
to put that dollar in.
Remember when we
You and
had,
I
Yeah.
discussed it. Remember, it was because we might at some point in time want to start something.
I guess one of the things that happened is we didn't know what was gonna happen with the Pines 3
Mhm.
years ago. We
Exactly.
really didn't know.
we were just because,
And we
just in
held up
case.
their payment. So we held up their payment. If the Pines was gonna fail, we wanted to take that payment and appropriate into another line item. So we created a blank line item with $1 in it, so we could use that and then draw for that for,
Because we still have the money?
had $1 in it. Um, I'm gonna check into that. But we also have, some
Well, we just gave away $500 to Red Cross, so we might as well just give it to everyone. Might as well kick that
I don't know if we
down.
need it.
So far, we've cut like $7,000 off.
Yes, because they don't have.
Clinton's alternative recreation, cooked onions.
Well, shall we keep it?
I redact that.
Shall we keep it?
Why don't we keep it, we can take it out at
It's
the
only
hearing.
$1, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right, so I make a motion to fund alternative recreation for $1. Is there a second?
second. Oh, sorry.
Any more discussion?
Might as well
All
give
in
them.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
One other thing, do we want to go and put some money in the 150th anniversary?
Well, they requested $10,000.
Yeah.
They came here.
We want to approve that
Well, that's, I've
now,
got,
and then we can change it after the public hearing if we want.
Sure.
we've actually got 3 more. We've also got Hall Memorial Library and Old
So let's
Home
do
Day.
those. yeah.
And they are gonna bring some revenues in, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's-
Well,
10,000 is just startup.
That's
Yeah.
the startup
Yeah.
money that they want.
Okay, right.
They'll bring, according to them, and according to the history and the town administrator, the history behind things she's been involved in, they more than paid for the startup fund. And actually had money that they contributed to
Yeah,
the town.
And any money left
No, it sounds
over
like
is
they-
coming
they
have
back
this
to our
program.
town
Yeah.
budget.
So I'll make the motion that we put $10,000 to the town 150th anniversary line.
I'll
And I
second.
second that.
Okay.
Any discussion?
It's gonna be good.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
What was
Next.
the other ones?
Hall Memorial Library for $130,000.
Oh, do that.
I make a motion that we fund Hall Memorial Library for $130,000.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Is that, where is that,
The discussion I have is that 78% of their budget is just salaries.
well, look at the
Well,
police
we
department.
Yeah, but it's increased, she increased it from,
80%.
Highest cost per
so she wanted to
capita,
pay,
state.
the same as.
Nothing like half our budget went to the police.
She increased the wages.
They were supposed to get back to us, if you will recall,
About
About
that
the
program?
about
Children.
a child's librarian, a children's librarian.
I was not that meeting.
Right, that was still in process, right?
Yes, one of the selectmen requested that they provide that, so we really can't vote on that until we get that information.
Table that,
So I-
or just not?
Well, you have to amend.
I have to withdraw my motion. I withdraw my motion till we get more
We withdraw the
information
second.
from Paul Memorial Library. Is there a second?
The second has to withdraw too, right?
Yeah,
Second withdraw, who was seconded?
Bill.
Did I?
Yeah, you second.
Okay, I'll withdraw that.
Okay. All right,
So the motion is to table Hall
yeah,
Memorial.
all in favor,
On,
no, to withdraw the motion.
oh,
There's no motion, we're just
Right.
okay.
Yeah, okay, so that's it.
skipping over it.
Skip it, okay, so we have
Look at
to,
her, she's.
Run out of paper, it goes like this, right?
She's not
I have a
gonna laugh.
question.
Yeah.
Or do you-
Here it is.
all right, Old Home Day, I make a motion.
On the concert, I was a no, it was the only no. For the record.
I make a motion to fund Old Home Day for $3,000.
I'll
Second.
I'll second, yeah, okay.
Discussion?
Gonna be good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Pardon me, who's second? I heard Bill and Christine at the same
I
time.
think Christine beat me to it.
Okay.
All right, so we have two, we're waiting on information from two.
Cap
CAP and Hall Memorial, and we tabled CAP and we withdrew Hall Memorial. Have you heard from Hall Memorial? I'm providing that information. Would you please follow up, call Jen Davis and find out when we can expect that information?
Okay.
Okay.
That's good voting.
So for
I
the
feel
next,
like we did.
yeah, for the next meeting review, we're gonna have Public Works. Please follow up on that,
Marina.
Maureen.
No, Maureen, no.
And I will get the dates for I'll have the dates for the public hearings,
For the record, it's Marina.
I said Marina. She said.
Marina. Just messing with you, Jay.
That's all.
Yeah. Long night.
Maureen. All right,
People do show up at the public hearings.
yeah.
I'm stoked.
Yeah, our favorite.
Yeah, like the three people.
Next week, we're
Where is it, a public hearing at, here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
We're in a home turf. We're good.
Typically, there's a whole schedule for those public hearings, right?
Yeah.
It's already set in stone.
we have to set it,
no, we have to set it.
we have to set the dates.
But
Yeah,
there's
but,
rules
I
on
mean,
how
the
soon.
calendar has it on a calendar,
No,
when we actually have,
No.
we abide by then.
By.
By-
Yeah, by then, but we can set it some other
The-
day, right?
the way it works is that the municipal association publishes the dates
Right,
of when they have to be done,
yeah,
and then we set them,
then we figure out what we want to do.
okay?
So, motion to adjourn?
And
Sorry.
actually, we really only have to have one going.
Well, we have to have,
Enough in case we have to, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so we've always scheduled two, so that we
Yeah.
could kind of, like, cover ourselves,
Yeah,
and then we have the last one for the warrant articles. And
And we
for the
can't-
budget things, we figure, come up with numbers. But for the warrant articles, we're just gonna say yes or
I
no,
know.
we support, we don't.
Yeah, right.
So,
and those are drawn up by the town administrator. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Time for a new one.
All
Aye.
opposed? All right. You can turn off the camera now.
Our selectmen.
Now we can talk about the real stuff. Government conspiracies.
Shut the recorder.
We are the government.
I know. I just want to start some.
You are part of the
I want to start some conspiracy theories.